All right, we're going to continue now. Part two of Jailbreak. My kind of tribute to Halloween and other horror movies like that get kind of messed up, kind of disturbing, but that's what horror movies are supposed to do. Well, I was just thinking of some of the visual elements of movies that kind of stuck with me as a kid. It was Chucky from Child's Play, also known as John Gruden. I don't know why. That's such a stupid thing to be afraid of but when you're a kid, you're just afraid of anything. I remember watching Terminator 2. And yeah, by the way, it is still Wednesday, May 6th, around 3:30 in the afternoon. I just like to keep track of when I do these recordings just for my own records. So there's that one scene in Terminator 2 with the new liquid type of Terminator, that guy. He morphs into this um, character, and his hand becomes like a spike, and he like totally just pierces the dude through the torso or whatever. I forget the exact way that happened, but that's a visual that always stuck with me, even though I don't remember it completely here. But there was a scene, maybe it was in the grocery store or something, and the Terminator that came to kill Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, he like formed into this weird spiky. His arm became like a spike or something, and he like totally gutted the dude. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe I can find that scene, but there's certain scenes that when you're a kid or growing up that just stick with you because it is kind of disturbing. I don't think it matters anymore as you get older and older because you become desensitized. And it's really just by you can look at it as a geographic thing. I was a suburbanite in New Jersey. If I was born in some, I don't know, tribal feud in Africa, I would be one of those child soldiers that you hear about, those horrific stories. 11, 12-year-old kids, as soon as they turn that age, they're like given machine guns and used as soldiers and shit. I think there was a movie about that. So everything's relative. That's the most radical example I could give. I was an 11-year-old worried about running suicide sprints in soccer practice, but around the world, there was people going through way crazier moments of violence and aggression and test of survival skills. So yeah, everything's relative. But the beauty of horror movies is the ability to just send you to this different universe where you can kind of relish and bask in your disturbing thoughts. When I wrote this story, I kept getting conflicted. Is this going too dark? Because I've never written a story like this. I didn't know how to approach it. I wrote this maybe 4 years ago. It was probably around that, yeah. 2021, 2022. And I had the general framework of how the story was going to go based on my love of Stranger Things and Halloween, based on my love of Goonies. I already talked about all this stuff in part one. And it was still striking to me, and we haven't gotten to any disturbing scenes yet with any real, death. And when you handle a movie like this with all child actors, it becomes an issue. But eventually you're like, all right, it's been done before. There's been horror movies with 11, 12, 13-year-old characters in it. Exorcism movies with young people who were possessed by the devil and demons, and other slasher movies with high school kids. Halloween was probably that, right? They were all high school kids that were getting slashed by Michael Myers at the end. So, yeah, even though this is a disturbing story and we'll get into the meat of the most violent scenes now, um, I'm actually more comfortable writing a story like this, believe it or not, than like the science fiction I did yesterday, because science fiction is more of a concern for me because I'm not good at math and science. I'm not I took physics in high school, no idea about anything the teacher was saying. It's not just because I was distracted or not interested. It just, I don't know, my brain doesn't comprehend certain things. I don't like mathematics. I don't like scientific stuff when it comes to equations and figuring out fractions or even simple stuff like that could get kind of annoying in my brain. Some people are good like that. They can figure out percentages in their head. They could do these complicated math equations, just addition, subtraction, multiplication in their head easily. For me, it's not like that. Um, I don't know. Some people just have different gifts. It's not like I don't respect it. Because I am a musician, mathematics is a big part of music, whether it's subconscious or not. Time signatures and keeping the rhythm. Just the science of music can get technical and it's full of mathematics, I'm sure, but to be honest, I never really look at it like that. So it's more of a hidden component of songwriting. It's not really something at the forefront. I'm not thinking of mathematics whenever, ever, I write a song or something. I'm never thinking about that shit. Some people probably do though, like more jazzy type math rock, prog bands and stuff like that. Maybe Dillinger Escape Plan, that's the band I think of. They kind of, I think they have a New Jersey connection too. But listening to them, the more heady math people will probably try to follow the time signature and try to figure it out and count it. To me, I just like, wow, this is chaos. This is great. I like it. But I don't really appreciate it from the technical math rock, if you want to call it that. It's heavy metal, it's math rock, maybe some progressive stuff in there. I just want to be immersed in a musical atmosphere, and the mathematics, it's probably a part of the beauty of it if you really dissect it with a musician's brain. But to me, yeah, it's not something I really notice when I listen to music or something. It's just not a part of my DNA. So I'm more wary of writing science fiction than horror movies. I like horror movies because they have more of an emotional impact. Most of the time, at least. Not to take away from the power of science fiction, because I love the Twilight Zone, but there's a essence of horror to that as well. The other movie I didn't mention really or talk about is Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland. That's a great movie, the original. Or at least maybe that's a remake too. But the one with Donald Sutherland I thought was really well done. He's a great actor. And the ending scene is always memorable. That's a great twist, I guess. The M. Night Shyamalan twist. But yeah, that's a part of this story. I mentioned Halloween and I mentioned Invasion of the Body Snatchers because that's really the most frightening scene I could think of. You know somebody your whole life and then they turn into somebody completely different or a different vessel for a different consciousness. And then all of a sudden you're left like wondering who the hell this person is. Nicole Kidman had a movie where she had some disorder where she would wake up every morning and she didn't know who she was. Kind of like Memento, the same thing. Memento had that, right? The dude had to give himself tattoos because he was trying to solve some mystery, but he kept forgetting everything the next day or something. It's been a while since I watched that. But yeah, Nicole Kidman movie, she would wake up and she wouldn't know who she was every morning. So her husband would have to show her pictures like, hi, I'm your husband. This is our life together that you don't remember and you're going to forget about it until you wake up tomorrow. You're not going to know either. So that's such a weird concept that was pretty. I don't remember the movie that well, but I was struck by that concept because I don't know if that's a real thing in real life. I know there is something called amnesia, but imagine waking up every day not knowing who you are or what you've done in your past. It's kind of freeing in a way because you wouldn't have your ego to deal with. You would have an empty slate every morning. You would wake up, and I'm sure it's not that attractive to not know who you are or who you're in bed with. You just have to take this person's word that they're your spouse, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you fall asleep and you have to do it all over again. Like, that's such a crazy concept to me. But anyway, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, I guess that's related. You think you know people, and then they become totally different, almost like copies of themselves or parodies of themselves. Or maybe there's bits of them that, in there, but they've changed some other part of their system, and you don't recognize them. Their old version of themselves is gone, and you're still trying to communicate with the old version of that person, but that person is no longer there. They've evolved into something else. It can be a shocking, terrifying thing. It could also be just, you have to kind of get adjusted to people as they change in life. But I really enjoyed that movie. I don't know really the symbology. I've said symbology a couple of times. I feel like George W. Bush. The symbology. I don't know if that's a real word. Symbology. Yeah, that is a word. Symbology is just the use of symbols. All right, I don't feel as stupid as I thought. Symbology. I guess you could use symbolism or symbology. So, I don't really know what the theme of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers is. Maybe it had to do with politics. Maybe it had to do with like the Manchurian Candidate type of storyline, that plot line where certain people are vulnerable to cult-like entities, or they're very easily persuaded by manipulative people. I've been there, man. I think a lot of people, if they listen to a lot of my talks like this, would consider myself to be, they would consider me without really knowing me. They would consider me to be kind of cynical and what's another word like that? Maybe a bit pessimistic about stuff, about the human condition. I'm always saying the human condition, I don't understand it. The existential concerns of the future. Yeah, I use these stupid terms, and I think people would consider me to be kind of a jaded artist or a frustrated artist and a cynical person in general. And that's fair. I think I do have that. I'm not going to really fight that too much, but that's not all I really, inside of me. That's not the only thing that keeps me going. The cynicism will keep me going like almost like a chip on the collective shoulder of humanity, where cynicism, you just become an observer of all these world events and all these events in your life, and you kind of take that stoic attitude to not really care that much. You could call it a more nihilistic approach to things. They're nihilist from Big Lebowski. I think that's the first time I heard that word, is in the parking lot scene in Big Lebowski when Steve Buscemi gets a heart attack fighting the nihilist. I think John Goodman has a quote like that, like, they're nihilists, they're cowards, or some shit like that. Big Lebowski. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not trying to come off like that. I'm not trying to come off as disingenuous or pretentious. I'm writing a stupid story. I wrote this stupid story 4 years ago. But I think it really is, it could have a psychological impact on people. I said this is like my favorite story. in a lot of ways, and I'm probably going to say this about other ones as well. This is only episode 3. There's 9 more episodes to go. And when I get to the next one, I'll probably say it. Oh, this is my favorite story. Yeah, the nihilist in the Big Lebowski. Uli, Dieter, and Franz. We believe in nothing, Lebowski, nothing. We cut off your Johnson. Yeah, they should have got an Academy Award for that. Yeah, it's that dude. He was in something. Was he in Fargo too? The guy who like puts the marmot in the bathtub. I think he was a dude from Fargo, maybe. Yeah, the nihilist from Big Lebowski should have gotten a collective like Academy Award because they're pretty funny in that. We don't care. We still want the money, Lebowski, or we fucks you up. Yeah, they're good, man. All right, what was I talking about? Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that feeling of, I guess, impending doom because you don't know who you're dealing with anymore. I'm kind of connecting that to how people might perceive me through these talks, but I don't care anymore. I've done this enough times where I'm trying to be true to myself, but I'm also trying to sell myself. It's different. Do people want like a real person like this, or should I be fake with a fake voice, pretending that I am some grandiose writer? Or, of course, you can't really pretend that if I've never got anything published or made money off anything I've ever written, so it's kind of hard to come off as that pompous entity that maybe sometimes artists can come off like if they're successful, I guess. You might start to become full of yourself and become a different person in the process. I don't know. To be honest, if I did become successful, and I don't even want that level of success that could give you that fuck you money. It sounds good on paper to get that fuck you money, and it gives you that freedom to just escape, to do whatever you want. But also, more money, more problems. And yeah, I don't want to deal with stuff like that. I just want to survive for the next however many years I got left and actually produce this shit. Like, I'm telling you, this story really connects with me, and I think it will connect with a lot of people for different reasons. If you're a fan of horror movies and a fan of really disturbing stories, I don't know how else to say it. It's just, it has a little bit for everybody. Some people won't. Some people, of course, don't watch horror movies because, for whatever reason, it brings up the darkness from within them, which they might be afraid of. Maybe that's the reason. So if a psychologist is trying to diagnose why some people can't handle horror movies, or they just have a weak heart and some of those jump scares could really fuck them up. I don't know. I've always been, since I was a teenager at least, I don't remember any movies really affecting me that greatly. And I've seen a good amount of horror movies through those years. So I really enjoy it. It's a fun genre to write in because when you deal with the supernatural, it's all about your imagination. Of course, you're being led by what you've been exposed to throughout your life, through religion, through other stories, other movies you've watched. It's going to be a part of your own creation. So I'm not rewriting anything here, making some new genre of horror. I'm explicitly stating where I'm getting this story from. It's thank you to John Carpenter. Thank you to, whoever wrote or directed Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And actually, David Rawlings has a cool song called Body Snatchers. And I think it's on Nashville Obsolete, if I'm not mistaken. He's got a song called Body Snatchers. Because there is a weird gothic folklore that's really fucking creepy when you think of doppelgangers and body snatchers, whatever the hell that really means in the folklore sense. I don't know. I don't really know how other people interpret um, that horror trope, like zombies, vampires. You can't really have many explanations for that. It's pretty self-apparent what those things represent. But when it comes to body snatchers, that's a whole other element of like witchcraft or folklore that I don't really comprehend. I guess I could just do some research on it, but yeah, or just talk to other people who have actually, like, you remember that it's still around, Coast to Coast. It was like a radio show, and they would always talk about aliens and lizard people, that stuff like that, conspiracy stuff out the wazoo. And I guess it's stuff like that. It's still interesting to me. There was a couple months where I was delivering newspapers, like, and it was like 3 in the morning till 6 in the morning or something like that. I forget exactly, but I would listen to that in the middle of the night while I was delivering papers, Coast to Coast AM or whatever it was called. I think they still have them on Spotify or other podcasts. Coast to Coast. It was pretty well known. I'm looking at the Dave Rawlings Machine, Body Snatchers. It's a song from 2015 off of Nashville, Obsolete. And I'm trying to maybe read these lyrics real quick to see if I can connect this to the story in any way or what I'm talking about. I sold my soul for something up on Barford hatches, 20 years of lining down the tracks. Mama said, next time you see the body snatchers, tell them all they'd better get back. You better get back, get back, get back. Better get back, you body snatchers. Each Mississippi River queen tries to play the saint. This far down the river you pretend what you ain't. I'm the son of a pioneer gun. I slather on the paint like a body snatcher. Yeah, I don't know what the hell this is about, but it's a good song nonetheless. The nameless tombstones crumble over the graves of Cairo kings. When there's high water everywhere, it covers everything. And when the sun comes out of nowhere, you can hear the birdies sing, you're the body snatcher. So yeah, it's a pretty cryptic song, and the way he performs it also has that same atmosphere. So check that out if you want to get a cool. If you never listen to Dave Rawlings, yeah, he usually he's with Gillian Welch. They're kind of like a partner duo, but he does his own stuff sometimes. She does her own stuff sometimes, but they collaborate on a lot of stuff together. All right, let's begin, huh? Let's begin part 2 of this. I'm on page 24. Where we left off the last time, BB was running from that dog after being chased by center fielder and his friends. He's up in the tree, and he sees his doppelganger again, exact copy of himself, walking towards the center fielder in their direction. And he's just like in shock, like what the hell's going on? And he falls out of the tree and kind of scrapes his hand. So he's... All right. Now we're moving to the railroad tracks in the woods, back to the woods, the creepy woods at night. Sam and Sally are walking by the tracks, or walking on the tracks, a few yards behind Rock, as the ice cream truck is still parked on the street nearby. Sam, forget it. I'm not getting any closer to him. Sally, there's got to be some explanation. He said he's been training. Sam, always knew that kid was an alien or something. So they're referencing, if you don't remember, they kind of lost Rock, and we thought he got snatched up by the mysterious, creepy shadow that we don't know who it is yet. But Rock appeared out of the fire and kicked the shit out of the older high school age kid, creepy teen or whatever I called him. So they're talking about Rock and what the hell must have happened to him. The railroad tracks start to vibrate as a train approaches, causing Sam and Sally to step off and stare towards Rock, who stops and stares directly into the oncoming train. Sam. Rock. Sally. Rock, get off the tracks, Rock. Sam. Rock, get off the tracks. Sally. Rock. Rock just stands there as the train approaches, ignoring them. Sally. Rock, stop messing around. Bam. The speeding train slams right into Rock as Sam and Sally cover their eyes in complete shock while the train passes by. Sam. Rock. They run to the tracks and they find only gobs of red ooze. Then they scan the area looking for Rock. Sam. Rock. Sally. Rock. Rock somehow appears in the distance, slowly walking towards the woods, deeper into the woods, as Sally points towards him. Sally. Over there. All right, moments later, we're in the woods as Sam and Sally are entering the woods and walking carefully through the darkness. She finds red ooze covering a dirt path, then more red ooze on other trees, touches the ooze with her finger as everything begins to spin around her, faster and faster, until she loses her balance, like a vertigo attack. A little bit behind her, Sam is pulling out a candy bar from his pocket while leaning against a tree and biting into the candy bar. Sam with his mouth full. Let's just go back to Tommy's. This little freak will show up eventually. All of a sudden, two monstrous arms descend behind him and pull him up the tree, while Sally regains her balance and turns towards him, but he's gone. Sally. Sam? She walks deeper into the woods. Sally. Sam? Come on, it's not funny. Rock. Sam. The faint sound of growling, teeth chattering, and chewing distract her as she glances up at the trees but sees nothing in the darkness. She walks backwards into a tree as a big spider crawls onto her shoulder. She then freaks out and brushes it away, then walks faster through the bushes while Sam's distorted voice echoes all around her. Sam echoing. Over here, Sal. Over here, Sal. So kind of a horror effect there. She moves towards the echo. Sam, as it continues, Sam, his voice continues to echo. Sally, Sally, Sally. She trips forward through the darkness into a creek, soaking her legs and slightly cutting up her ankle. Sam. Come on, Sally. Over here, over here. Sally freaks out and limps away out of the woods. Moments later, Sally is emerging from the woods now, limping over the railroad tracks towards the parked ice cream truck, while the shadowy figure follows her from behind, oozing red slime from its feet. Inside the ice cream truck, Sally gets in, slams the door shut, and hides under the counter, holding her breath. She's trembling now as the side door creaks open and footsteps echo inside, followed by some faint growls. She places her hand over her mouth as monstrous feet walk by her, trailing more red ooze. Footsteps echo to the driver's seat, then the engine starts. The ice cream man now drives the truck, whistling along as he plays the jingle, while Sally stays frozen under the counter, tears falling now. All right, now we're back in the woods. About the same time, now we're following BB walking through the darkness. He rests against a tree, and he's pulling the splinter from his palm, the one that he got when he was up in the tree before. Above him, Sam's dead body hangs from a high tree branch, like right above him, wrapped in a red ooze, almost like a cocoon effect. Or he's like hanging from the tree, his dead body, engulfed in this red ooze, like a cocoon effect, something like that. And his body and face are bloody and disfigured. Some of his blood drips down, but BB doesn't notice in the darkness as he tosses the splinter down, wipes his bloody hand on the tree, leaving some streaks of blood. All right. That's the first death, I think, right? Yeah, that was the first death that we've noticed as Sam's body is hung on the tree branch high above in the woods, covered in this red ooze. Now we're going to Tommy's house about the same time or a little bit later, sorry. BB runs back to Tommy's house onto the driveway. He's searching for his friends. Then he hurries towards the backyard just as that all too familiar ice cream truck jingle plays. He runs back to the driveway as Sally bangs on the side window inside the ice cream truck. Sally, from inside the truck, so it's kind of like a muffled scream. BB! BB grabs his bike from the driveway, or any bike from the driveway, and follows after the truck. BB, Sally! Moments later, Sam is sneaking up behind Sally inside the ice cream truck. He grabs her from behind and places his hand over her mouth as red ooze trails from his lower body. That might be a confusing scene right there, but I'm not going to talk too much about it until later when I kind of get to the whole plot of this story, I guess, when it unfolds naturally more. All right, we're doing a series of shots or a montage through suburbia. The ice cream truck is speeding down the street. BB is cutting through backyards on the bike, trying to follow it. The ice cream man drives the truck while humming the jingle to himself in kind of a creepy way. BB rides up a ramp over a fence, kind of like a stunt move there. The ice cream truck is speeding past the baseball field. BB rides through the dirt infield, trying to keep up with it. The ice cream truck turns wildly down the street. Sally lays, she's out cold on the ice cream truck floor. So these are very quick shots as we have this chase scene. Now BB is exhausted. He can't keep up with the truck on his bike. He slows down, then he brakes as the ice cream truck is speeding away out of his sight. That's the end of this series of shots, or however you want to portray this. I just figured it's a chase scene. You don't have to make too many subheadings and scene headings for this. So it's probably easier to write it out like I did as a series of shots. All right, now we're back to Tommy Street a little bit later as BB rides the bike towards Tommy's house. But a police car is following him and pulls up alongside him, and Officer Valinsky rolls down his window calmly. Officer Valinsky, hey BB, kind of late for a bike ride, don't you think? Why don't you head on home, son? BB's kind of still in a panic state. Officer Valinsky, there's this crazy ice cream man. He took Sally, maybe even Sam, and Rock. Valinsky rolls his eyes. Officer Valinsky, BB, I know you had a rough day, but it's time to get on home now. He rolls up the window and drives away. BB kind of yells after him, but it's the truth. You gotta believe me. BB punches down on his bike handles in frustration, then groans in pain as he inadvertently made his knuckles bleed. All right, so he heads back to Tommy's house now on his bike. We are currently now, I don't know, the time period is probably like 11 o'clock at night, where maybe, yeah, it's odd to see young kids still riding their bikes in the neighborhood. So it'd probably be around 10 or 11 o'clock, approaching the witching hour, I guess. Now we're at Tommy's house as BB rides the bike back onto the driveway, then knocks on the front door. Tommy's mother opens it and squints curiously towards him as BB says, "Mrs. Bembry, you gotta help, you gotta help." BB now, this is kind of continuous. He's walking into the front door, he's walking inside as Tommy's mother kind of looks him over and notices all his cuts and scrapes. Tommy's mother, "It's past 11, BB. Why aren't you at home? How did you get that cut on your head?" She inspects it. BB, he's still panicked. He's like all scatterbrained. "Mrs. Bembry, there's this ice cream man. You see, we were playing Jailbreak, and then this dog chased me, and I climbed up a tree, and then I saw my evil twin. But forget about all that. The ice cream man, he got Sally, maybe the others." Tommy's mother's like barely keeping up with all his ranting. Tommy's mother, "Slow down, BB. BB. He probably got Tommy too." Tommy's mother, "What are you rambling about, BB? Tommy came home over an hour ago." So now she's leading BB, who's in this manic state, into the kitchen where Tommy is sitting at the table, calmly eating from a corn pop cereal box. Tommy, "Hey, BB." In the living room, Tommy's father sits on the couch in his underwear, reading a Russian history book until he notices BB in the kitchen. Tommy's father, "Sorry about that game today, BB. Don't let it ruin the rest of your summer break." BB runs up to Tommy. BB, Tommy, the ice cream man, he took Sally. I swear I saw her." Tommy laughs at him and eyes his mother. Tommy, "He's just had a rough day. He usually doesn't sound this crazy." All right, Tommy's mother is leading BB back towards the front door. Tommy's mother, kind of like forcefully, like she's leading him forcefully towards the front door because she doesn't know what the hell is wrong with this kid. Tommy's mother, "Now, I'm going to give you a ride. You shouldn't be walking home in this state. You must be exhausted." So she's going to give him a ride home. Then she notices his bloody hand and his bloody knuckles. Tommy's mother, "And just what did you do to your hand?" Tommy's eyes are now bulging out of his skull. Then they turn a deep red color, almost like something out of Beetlejuice or something, as this red ooze is sliding down his nose. BB turns back to catch just a fleeting glimpse of him in this state, as the red ooze quickly shoots back up. So it's almost like this red slime, almost like a mucus coming out of his nose, and then he's sucking it back up his nose. BB, "But Mrs. Brembry, I can't go home. I have to find Sally." And she guides him to the front door, then grabs her coat and keys. Tommy's mother, "That's enough, BB. What has gotten into you tonight?" He breaks away from her and runs out the front door. Tommy's mother, "BB." Outside, BB is darting out the front door, grabbing the bike from the driveway and quickly riding away, while Tommy's mother walks out after him. Tommy's mother, "BB, get back here." She watches him ride away, then steps back inside. All right. Now we're back inside Tommy's house, following Tommy's mother moments later as she locks the front door, then turns towards Tommy, standing directly behind her as her heart skips a beat. So we got another jump scare here. Tommy's mother, "Damn it, Tommy, don't be sneaking up on me. You know I hate horror movies." Tommy smiles at her creepily as she walks towards the kitchen, where she washes some dishes in the sink and hums a peaceful melody to herself. In the living room, Tommy's father puts the book down and lights his pipe. Tommy's father. Oh, sweetie, did you hear about the Thompsons? Tommy's mother, off screen. No, dear. Tommy's father. They're having twins. Can you believe that luck? I saw Tim today. He looked pale as a ghost. Tommy's mother, off screen. She's quite the fertile one. Tommy's father. Yeah, they can feed their own baseball team soon. Tommy's mother opens the dishwasher door, then places some glasses inside, and then closes it, while Tommy, appearing now as a demon with monstrous teeth, red slime oozing from his body out of every orifice, bites down into his father's head on the couch as blood squirts everywhere. Tommy's mother turns on the garbage disposal to the sounds of mechanical struggle, then turns it off. Tommy's mother. Dear, I think the disposal is jammed again. She tries again to the same result. Tommy's mother. Dear? She turns her gaze towards the living room, her eyes in complete shock, as she drops a glass onto the floor, while Tommy chews on his father's neck, whose bloody head now dangles by a string. He notices his mother staring towards him and changes his appearance to his usual self, then smiles creepily and walks slowly towards her as blood drips from his mouth. Tommy's mother. Tommy? Tommy? He inches closer. Tommy's mother. Tommy! Now, outside of the house, we view the peaceful summer night as the sounds of nature reverberate. Suddenly, a woman screams inside, followed by growls and munching of flesh. So we're getting somewhere deeper into this story, the folklore of this kind of demonic entity. That would be the first kind of really disturbing scene, I think. Although we just saw Sam get killed and hung in the tree. So now Tommy is eating his dad's face and doing whatever to his mother. So yeah, it gets disturbing at this part. All right, now we're moving on to page 32. I'm going to go a little bit quicker because I still have maybe close to 20 pages left. Maybe about 17 pages left. BB is now pedaling hard on the bike soon after this, ridding himself of some frustration, while in front of him a figure stands, bruised and covered in dirt. He spots the figure and brakes, then realizes who it is and sighs in relief. BB. Wanda! Thank God. He hops off the bike and they hug each other. Wanda in hysterics. The ice cream man, he took Sally and Sam and Rock. I was lucky to get away. BB. I knew it. I just came from Tommy's. At least he's safe with his parents. That's supposed to be a comical line. As far as BB knows, everything's good in the Tommy household. Alright, so the two friends separate as Wanda tries to calm herself. BB. We have to find them. Wanda. How? We don't even know what we are dealing with. I don't think it was human. BB. What did it look like? Wanda. I didn't get a good look, but it was really slimy and cold. Just then, the familiar ice cream truck jingle plays as the ice cream truck drives down a nearby street. BB. Come on, hop on. She does, and they quickly chase after it. BB pedaling as fast as he possibly can. BB. I'm not losing it this time. Now we are moving outside of a sewer grate. The ice cream truck is parking near a sewer entrance. One of those like very kind of large sewer cave dwellings that are specifically great for horror movies like this. I picture like the Ninja Turtles where they always drew the turtle van out of that large sewer grate, something like that. That leads to some underground sewer system in this small town. So that's where the ice cream truck is parking near, as the ice cream man steps out and carries the unconscious Sally in his arms. BB rides the bike with Wanda on the back. Now he has sweat all over his face. From the distance, they watch Ice Cream Man carry Sally into the sewer opening. Now, inside the sewer, BB and Wanda are holding their noses as they walk into an underground cave, following a path of filthy red ooze towards a larger opening. In the middle of the spacious room, Ice Cream Man stands, lighting a torch, while they stare in disbelief at the red paintings on the wall in front of him. And on this wall, there's like paintings of pentagrams, devilish stick figures, 666 markings, drawings of snakes, pyramids, satanic goat heads. I was just trying to think of anything remotely familiar to the occult, so that's what I came up with. And all over the cave wall, there's just all these paintings of all this shit. Wanda grabs BB's arm. Wanda, we have to get closer. Come on, follow me. She walks away as BB whispers towards her. Wanda, what are you doing? Wait, Wanda. He catches up to her and they shield themselves behind debris, while Ice Cream Man takes out a long knife and cuts a large gash into his arm. He covers his fingers in the red ooze that flows out and paints a huge pentagram on the wall. So he's the one making all these cave drawings. They sneak closer through a path of red slime as BB kicks over a beer bottle by accident, alerting Ice Cream Man, who turns and waves towards BB with his psychotic, sparkling smile. Ice Cream Man. And I think at this point you put like a demonic effect on his voice. Hey, kiddo. BB turns towards Wanda. BB, come on, Wanda, we gotta get out. Just then, Wanda pushes him down, then growls like a demon as red ooze shoots out of her mouth onto his body. Her entire body is now morphing into a red ooze exoskeleton, while BB passes out from shock. Ice Cream Man's body now turns into a gigantic mass of red ooze as she merges with him. He lets out a primal scream, then morphs back into Ice Cream Man, the clean-cut Ice Cream Man, near a nest of red ooze where Wanda, Tommy, Rock, and Sally lay inside, covered in the ooze. BB lays unconscious on the ground, covered in the ooze as well, while Ice Cream Man returns to the wall and continues more of his pentagram painting. So what are we seeing in this scene here? Because it could get a little confusing maybe. This Ice Cream Man, he's really this doppelganger demon, and he's composed of this red ooze exoskeleton. And while he's out doing his thing, he can dispatch parts of his body to create doppelgangers of people he interacts with. And these doppelgangers are also a part of his, they're a part of him. They're like his minions, but he's one just demonic entity of red ooze. But if he wants to, he can spread out and probably go up to like 10 people or some shit. And all of these different versions of himself, are controlled by him. If I'm trying to explain this correctly, it's a fucked up thing. Like if there was a demon that was constructed like this, and he can take the form of anyone he interacts with, and he can also divide his body up like that, so he could be Sally, Rock, Wanda, Tommy, and BB all at the same time. And then when he returns, all of these people blend back into him to form this massive demon. That's what I was going for with this type of a demonic story. All right, where are we now? A little bit later that night, we're still in the sewer outside as Wanda is carrying the unconscious BB in her arms. BB's shirt is now ripped, and she is laying him on the ground. Sally and Rock walk behind her, emotionless, as they pass the ice cream truck in unison. Okay, a little bit later, down a suburban street, Wanda, Sally, and Rock are walking together in silent unison again, stride for stride, emotionless, as red ooze trails from their feet. I'm kind of reminded of Rick and Morty when they have those episodes with Unity, and she's kind of a planet or whatever she was, and she can cause an entire city to form as her because they like puke in each other's mouths. You know what I'm talking about? That episode of Rick and Morty where Unity can send her consciousness to Earth and take over an entire city, almost like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yeah. So it's not that much of a different philosophy or world that I'm creating here, that this doppelganger demon is able to go into a small town like that, and whoever he comes across, he can take their form, but he can also divide his body up to take on multiple forms at the same time. I guess that's the best way I could say it. All right. We're now outside of Wanda's home as Wanda walks towards the front door. We're now at Sally's home. Sally's walking towards her front door. We're now at Rock's home. Rock is walking towards his front door. And these are just very quick cuts here. You show Rock, you show Wanda, you show Sally, you show Wanda, Sally, Rock. Yeah, those three people. And they're all approaching their front doors. Like, I just thought it would be a cool effect to cut from one to the other to the other. Now, inside Wanda's home, Wanda walks inside, walks up the stairs, her dead eyes glowing red as red ooze slides down her nose. Inside Sally's home, Sally is walking up the stairs as well. So they're kind of doing this as, I did it like this to split it up to show that even though they're in their separate homes, they're the same person. That's why I wanted to show it like that. Divide these scenes with quick cuts. You see Wanda, you see Sally walking up the stairs. You see Rock walking inside the kitchen, showing off his monstrous teeth. So it looks like these people are separate, but they're really controlled by the doppelganger demon because they're a part of his body. Inside Wanda's home, Wanda is creaking open a door, walking into the dark room where Wanda's mother and Wanda's father sleep soundly in bed. Inside Sally's home, in the bedroom, Sally's mother and father sleep peacefully in bed, while Sally stands over them, licking her lips. Now we're at Rock's home. He's creeping down the basement stairs towards his father, who snores in a lazy boy chair, while an episode of A Current Affair plays. I don't know, for some reason that's a cool bit of nostalgia for me. I used to watch those stupid shows like A Current Affair. I think that was in Dumb and Dumber. That was pretty funny, about the dead bird. Little bird, pretty bird. Alright, so now we're in Wanda's home again. She's watching her parents sleep as her mother opens her eyes. Wanda's mother. Wanda? She stares back blankly. Wanda's mother. What is it, sweetheart? Quick cut to Sally's home in her parents' bedroom. Sally is crawling inside the sheets like a snake, slithering between her parents. Now in Rock's home in the basement, Rock stares towards his snoring father who wakes up all groggy. Rock's father. What you doing up, son? Rock's eyes suddenly turn blood red as red ooze drips down his nose. He opens his jaw and sprays this disgusting red ooze all over his father's face. Back at Wanda's home at the same time, she is opening up her monstrous jaw as well as she bites into her mother's neck, blood squirting all over, while her father wakes up dazed and turns towards her. Wanda's father. Did you say something, hon? Wanda lunges at at her confused father and bites off half of his face with her monstrous jaw. So you really have to come up with cool CGI here. Back at Sally's home, peaceful sounds of summer. We're viewing her house from the outside, and all we see is a light coming on in the upstairs window as Sally's mother is saying off screen, "Sally, what are you doing in here? Sally?" Sally's father is screaming, "Sally!" And all we hear is monstrous growling and chewing from inside, echoing as blood is splattering on the upstairs window. So now back at Rock's home at the same time, we drift close towards a small basement window from the outside, and we're looking through that window as a muzzled scream echoes and quickly fades, where we view Rock inside, crouched on his father's shoulders and munching on his head. Back at Wanda's home outside, Wanda is walking down the street, blood all over her mouth. Outside of Sally's home, she's walking down the street, licking pieces of flesh off her lips. Back outside of Rock's home, and they're probably all on the same street or really close by to make this work logistically. Rock is walking down the street with his lifeless red eyes, his body covered in blood. Now, the cocky teen from before is driving his car past this scene down this otherwise quiet suburban street. He's pounding a beer while he drives. Then he tosses the beer can behind him and belches. He's tuning the radio to a late night talk show similar to Coast AM. So I even mentioned that. I was talking about Coast to Coast. The host on the radio, "We were about to talk with Fred before that last break. Hi, Fred. Sorry about that." Fred on radio, "Hi, Mark. Long time, first time. Let me tell you, it's a real pleasure." The cocky teen opens up another beer as he's driving. Then he's checking out a bruise on his neck in the rear view as he winces in pain. As the host on the radio continues, "Pleasure's all mine now. You wanted to talk about your wife's alien abduction?" Fred on the radio, "Yeah, she was never quite the same after, like she turned into some other version of herself or something. I'm not one of those crazies, but there are some things you just can't explain logically." The cocky teen continues to chug his beer, not really listening to the radio, but kind of also listening to it, because he says to himself quietly, "Tell me about it." He slams the brakes as suddenly Rock's bloody face appears in the darkness right in front of him. He watches Rock as he walks by the car, then panics when they eye each other. He spills beer all over himself and then speeds away. So in this scene, yeah, Rock just ate his dad's face or whatever. So he's probably covered in guts. Maybe he's spitting out an eyeball. I don't know, make it real disturbing here. As this creepy teen, the cocky teen, sorry. Maybe he's creepy too. This cocky teen is drunk driving, trying to forget about the night and all the weirdness, but then he happens to run into Rock again. So it's kind of comic relief at this point. We just saw 3 gruesome killings by these demonic creatures. And yeah, I think you need a bit of comic relief at this point. All right, now a little bit later, Sally, Wanda, and Rock are meeting at the end of the street, at another suburban street. Whatever makes sense to this filming. All 3 of them are covered in blood and guts and that red ooze. And then they walk together stride for stride, emotionless. All right, now we're back to Tommy's house. A little bit later, Tommy is sitting in his driveway, face covered in blood and guts, as he bites into his mother's severed head. Tommy now morphs into his mother and takes another bite from the head as the family dog approaches and growls at her. Tommy, as his mother, growls back while the dog whimpers and runs away. And then Tommy, as his mother, in the appearance of his mother, cracks her neck and morphs back into Tommy. So again, this is a part of the demon. Tommy has been just hanging out in his house the whole time, and now he's just munching on his mother's head, and then he turns into his mother. And so I thought that would be a cool effect, to be like he's in the appearance of his mother eating his mother's head. So it's like she's almost eating her own head. That's what I'm going for with this little scene here. I thought that would be cool. Really interesting look of somebody, like it looks like someone's eating their own head. I think that's a cool visual, at least. He takes another bite, and then now he's back in Tommy appearance. Then he joins Sally, Wanda, and Rock as they walk stride for stride down the street. All right, so that's the last scene of the night. This horrific night in this suburban town where this crazy demonic ice cream truck dude is just doing all kinds of demonic, horrific shit. That night is over, and we're going to the morning now in the sewer as the sun is starting to rise. Last we saw BB, he was passed out near the sewer outside, and he's slowly waking up now in the dirt, kind of dazed. But this is probably soon after, so when all these horrific killings are taking place, it's probably the middle of like 4 in the morning, around that time, 3, 4 in the morning at this point. I might have to look at the timeline a little bit more, but it would be around that, as the sun is just starting to come up now, and BB's waking up. He looks at himself through the ice cream truck's side mirror and notices his ripped shirt and a new red pentagram painted on his chest. Well, he never had one before. He's waking up, and he's like all confused, and he sees himself in the mirror, and he's got this like a tattoo of a pentagram painted on his chest, like a really big one, with 666 written in the middle of it. He tries wiping off the symbol to no avail, as Tommy, Sally, Wanda, and Rock are walking towards the ice cream truck, still covered in blood and guts. BB quickly takes cover behind a bush as they hold hands and chant in a demonic language. These 4, Tommy, Sally, Wanda, and Rock, they're all holding hands, chanting in this weird language, some Latin shit, I don't know, make something up there. Their bodies are now transforming to a red ooze, merging into a towering whirlpool, which forms into a hideous doppelganger demon. So now in the daylight, we can really appreciate this demon entity, this demonic doppelganger, what his real appearance is, or her real appearance. I don't know. I didn't really, maybe it's not a sex at all. It's genderless. It's just this weird demonic doppelganger. BB watches this enormous creature and covers his face as the demon is levitating right over him, then opens its jaw and growls like the gates of hell were opening. So yeah, it can get pretty crazy here. Like, I don't know, just a really fucked up looking creature. I'm a visual artist, but I've never tried going down the dark side to draw like what this would look like. I've never tried making a graphic novel or a comic book, so I don't know how to approach portraying what I see. I would have to rely on other people to kind of create this demon and make it as original as possible. I don't know. I would have to kind of maybe try to sketch this out if I could. Maybe I could come and I can make something and give people an idea of what I'm talking about. All right, so this demon is opening up its jaw and growling at BB while spraying all this blood all over him. So it's probably all the people that individually, when he was split up into different versions of this demon, and he took the appearance of Rock and Sally and all these people, Wanda and Tommy, he's probably spitting out the blood of like all the victims onto BB. And I'll get into that more when I try to explain some of these things at the end. And now he morphs back into Ice Cream Man after spitting, all this blood all over BB's body. And he morphs back into Ice Cream Man, all cleaned up magically. He gets inside the ice cream truck and he drives away slowly. Again, yeah, I don't know how to handle stuff like this. I would rely on the people who made Stranger Things. When you make a horror movie with young children, yeah, these are 11, 12, 13-year-olds. Even if you're able to get like a 15-year-old that could pass for an 11-year-old, if that's a thing, I don't know. Even for a 15-year-old, these are heady, very horrific scenes that, I don't know how to handle the casting or the production of a movie like this. You have to get these actors that are ready to like eat their parents' face. Like that's basically what those scenes are showing, even though it's not really them, it's the demon doing it. But yeah, it could be a gruesome type of role for, I don't know how you handle kids in horror movies. I talked about this when I first wrote this story that, yeah, some of these scenes could be tough to cast the right actors for a movie like this. All right, the Ice Cream Man, we got about 10 pages left. The Ice Cream Man is smiling from inside the truck as he casually hums along to the jingle and drives away. So you can get real creepy he's got like that 1950s smile from eye to eye, and he's just creepily humming along to the however the actor could portray that, because I'm not doing it any justice. Back outside the sewer, BB is rising, covered head to toe in blood and that red ooze. And he's watching the ice cream truck drive away, kind of in a shocked state at this point, after everything he's seen throughout the night and this morning. A little bit later, BB is walking down his street towards his home, completely emotionless, covered in this blood, as a suburban man steps out of his front door with a coffee mug and obviously notices BB and the pentagram drawing on his chest. Suburban man quietly to himself, what the hell? He spills his coffee onto the front lawn as the paperboy rides his bike past BB and brakes. Paperboy, you alright, BB? BB walks on like a zombie as a suburban mom out for a morning jog notices him and freezes. Suburban mom, Jesus Christ. Alright, now we're moments later. BB is walking towards the front door of his house while his mother hums and waters some plants outside. BB's mother. BB? He walks closer towards her. BB's mother. BB. He collapses on the lawn as she runs to him in a panic and lifts his head up. BB's mother. Jerry, call an ambulance. His father steps out and runs over to them in shock, then runs back inside. BB's mother. BB, wake up. The father runs back outside with a cordless phone and dials 911. BB's father. What the hell? I thought he spent the night at Tommy's. Other early risers in the neighborhood stand outside BB's front lawn, shocked at the scene. So I kind of picture it like it's a shot here that's very like a punk rock type of. I'm reminded of the cover of Bad Religion, Suffer, with that kid who's like on fire walking through the suburbs. That's what I picture, like a scene like that. BB just witnessed this horrific demon and his friends like becoming different. His friends that he thought he knew, he's all confused. Like, I'm confused reading this story right now. as an 11-year-old kid witnessing that horrific shit, yeah, it would be crazy. So that's the end of that scene. And I do, if you know what I'm talking about, the cover of Suffer by Bad Religion, the album art, it's pretty iconic. That's what I kind of picture, like that kind of a aesthetic or atmosphere. The safety of the suburbs, but yeah, it's no more. It's just a fucked up kind of way. All right, where was I on? All right, he walked home. All right, now it's a little bit later in that morning, and now we're going to be following two police officers as they're at the sewer opening, and three reporters are walking towards them. Reporter one, you got to give us something. The police officers hold the line and stay silent. Reporter two, already some crazy rumors circulating. Just trying to give you guys the first word. Just then, Officer Valinsky steps out of his car nearby with a shocked appearance, like he's just been through a war zone. Officer Valinsky towards the reporters. Listen, we'll have an update later this afternoon. There will be no further statements at this time, as this is still fresh and involves juveniles. Reporter 1, come on, George, we need something. Officer Valinsky, you all know the law. Passes the two officers and walks into the sewer opening. So Valinsky is trying to get these reporters out of his face. This is also kind of a trope. I know I'm using a lot of plot devices that are very common for movies like this, but that's just how it goes, man. It's the way I told this story. Things could always change later, as I always say. And this is a small town, so it's like, why would there be three reporters there? But I picture it like if this happened in a small town, there's a city somewhere that these reporters were probably listening to the police scanner, and they were hearing all this crazy shit about rituals, satanic murders, and it's surprising there's only three reporters there, even if it's a small town. You think there'd be like national news at this point. In the 90s, that was still the way, right? Like, it was very hard for anything to be kept private, any kind of police situation, no matter how crazy it was. It's very hard to keep the reporter or the news out of it. So I think that's believable to a degree. The next morning, BB got found. Maybe BB, they kind of retraced his path and found the sewer, or some other way they found the sewer, and they found his bike there, some other clues that led him to the sewer that morning. And I think it's pretty believable to have something like that. All right, so now Officer Valinsky, is going into the sewer. He's walking by a few detectives and crime scene technicians. Some of them are taking pictures of the cave wall paintings, those satanic paintings that the doppelganger put on there. And others are scanning the area for evidence. An overweight officer, Officer Reed, in his 50s, approaches him as they walk by other occult symbols painted on the wall. Officer Reed begins this dialogue. You really go to all four scenes? Officer Valinsky, had to see it for myself. Officer Reed, how about the kid? Say much of anything else? Officer Valinsky, could hardly get him to speak a word, especially with his parents there. Officer Reed, this is going to go national fast, maybe international. I don't even know if I want to keep that line. If a story like this becomes a national story, yeah, it's pretty obvious that it will become a story that other countries would pick up. If something like this happened in Mexico or Brazil, I'm sure CNN in America would be broadcasting, because it's such a crazy story. Excuse me. The two officers walk past more occult symbols on the wall. Officer Valinsky, how are they? Officer Reed, stable, not a lot of signs of struggle, Officer Valinsky. And you're telling me they had no blood on them when you first found them? Officer Reed, not a lot. They could have washed up somewhere, I guess. We got a crew searching the surrounding area and out by the woods. Tommy, Sally, Wanda, and Rock sit against the wall, cuddled up in blankets, completely lifeless. Officer Valinsky, we gotta get them out of here before the media circus gets too crazy. Officer Reed, better get them out now then. A young police officer runs towards them. Young police officer, sir, I think you need to come see this. Valinsky ignores him, off in his own world, and puts his hand down on Sally's knee. Officer Valinsky, hey Sally, how you holding up? Her eyes are dead, cold, and unblinking. Young police officer, sir, I think you need to come see this now. Valinsky ignores him again until the young officer grabs him by the shoulder to get his attention. Young police officer, sir. He finally turns towards him, notices his serious gaze, and follows him towards the exit. Hard cut there. Now we're in the woods, and we're the first thing we see is Sam's disfigured body hanging on the tree branch, covered in a web of red ooze. So we already saw this, but it looks a little bit different now with the sun shining on this tree. And next to him is center fielder who's hanging on a nearby branch, his guts torn out, with his other two friends hanging from other branches, disfigured and bloodied like the others. And I kind of picture this as the most gruesome Christmas tree decorations you could ever imagine. So all of these, there's 4 dead bodies hanging from the tree in this red ooze cocoon, kind of gutted and disfigured. Officer Valinsky is speaking quietly to himself. My God, how the holy hell. Like, just from a logistic, if you're a police officer and that's what you see the first thing in the morning, you see these dead bodies hanging from a tree with this red ooze, like, what the hell is going to go through your head at this point? So Valinsky, he's probably just waking up, and he went to all these houses to see the other victims that got slaughtered, Sally's parents, Rock's parents, Tommy's parents, and he already saw all this gruesome shit. Sally, Wanda, Tommy and Rock. And he's probably kind of in shock himself at this point. He's scanning the woods for any clues, and he notices a streak of blood on the tree trunk, a smiley face painted in blood on the same tree, a 666 inscription under the smiley face, and writing in blood on the tree, which says, "The devil made us, BB." So he's finding all these things on the tree trunk, the same tree that all these bodies are hanging from. And at this point, the 3 reporters from before are running into the woods, and they're taking pictures of the bodies in the tree, as any reporter would, right? Like, Valinsky kind of rages out, and he punches reporter 1 in the face, sending the other 2 running off, while 2 other officers run over and break it up. Officer Valinsky, I told you to keep the fucking press away. Reporter 1 holds his bloodied nose and walks away. Reporter 1, you'll be hearing from our station lawyers. Officer Valinsky, good. I want to tell them to go fuck themselves too. Have some decency. Valinsky now stares up towards Sam's corpse again, and then at the others, as Officer Reed enters the area, similarly in shock at the scene. Officer Reed, Lord Almighty, don't quite know how we're going to explain this one. So Officer Reed's a bit older. He's just worried about how to explain this to the town. Why are there 4 dead kids in the tree? Officer Reed, and then Valinsky answers him, I need to go meet with the chief and try to come up with some plausible explanations. Just make sure no one else comes into this area. He walks off. Officer Reed, how do we get them down? Officer Valinsky, call Bob's tree service. I don't care if he has to cut down the whole damn tree, but get those damn bodies down fast. Valinsky gets in his cruiser and starts it up, only to step back out like he's in deep thought, like he's remembering something. Officer Valinsky, I saw BB riding his bike last night. He mentioned something about an ice cream truck. Officer Reed, an ice cream truck? Valinsky shrugs his shoulders. Valinsky, I don't know. I'll try to talk to him again later. They took him to St. Damian's. He gets back in the car and drives off. All right. Now we're following Ice Cream Man again. Speaking of the devil, as he cruises on a highway in his ice cream truck, not a care in the world. As he tunes the radio, and Animal Farm by the Kinks plays. He stares in the rear view, smirking, as his face morphs into BB, then Tommy, then Sally, then Rock, then Sam, then Wanda, then Tommy's mother. So very quickly, his face morphs into all of these characters over and over and over and over. When he gets to Tommy's mother, it stays on her. So now he's as Tommy's mother. He's rolling down the window and he's puckering her lips towards a suave man driving a convertible next to him, who's smiling back flirtatiously. But the man thinks, this very attractive woman driving an ice cream truck, that's kind of weird. But he starts to freak out even more and swerve off the road as Ice Cream Man morphs back into his usual appearance as the Ice Cream Man. The Ice Cream Man at this point is smiling and checking out his teeth in the rear view, his long serpent tongue sticking out as he drives farther down the highway, humming the ice cream truck jingle. Maybe he starts playing it again, because that's kind of funny. If you see this rogue ice cream truck on a highway playing the jingle, maybe that's kind of comical too. All right, let's move a little bit farther down this timeline. I'm not sure when this is, maybe a few years later, something like that, to that effect. We're at a tiki beach bar in the daytime, a completely different area now, as an elderly couple dances to tropical music in a tiki bar, as a few other patrons are drinking colorful cocktails at the bar, and there's an episode of A Current Affair playing on the TV above the bar. So they're drinking and watching this episode. Remember, this is the 90s, late 90s. A Current Affair, I believe, was still around at that point. I could be wrong, but it's not that far off. So now we're viewing a TV screen. There's a studio reporter sitting behind a desk. The studio reporter: it has been 2 years since the horrific Pelpot County murders, and some of the killings still remain unsolved, even after an extensive FBI investigation. In this special report, we will revisit that horrific night when a small peaceful community fell victim to devil worship and insidious bloodshed. Now we view on the TV a field reporter standing in front of the Pelpot County Police Station as an American flag waves behind her. Field reporter: I'm standing out front of the Pelpot Police Station, where police continue to refuse to cooperate with our request for an interview regarding what has now been termed the Devil's Rampage in Pelpot County. Now we view photos of Pelpot County suburban streets, kind of like an establishment shot. We're just showing where this occurred. So this is probably years later. Yeah, what did I say? 2 years. This is 2 years later after this horrific night. The field reporter is now doing a voiceover. as we watch these suburban streets. A night too horrific to be fully explained. Now we view photos of demonic paintings inside the sewer as the voiceover continues. A community left in shambles. Now we view Sam's corpse in the tree. Field reporter continues the voiceover. A police force with no explanations. All right, continuing. Now we have a video of Officer Valinsky. This is 2 years later, so he's fully bearded now, overweight, and he's opening the front door of the police station while a group of reporters approach him. So he's probably been dealing with this case for 2 years. He can't get any answers. People are hounding him because, how many people died? All the parents and all these kids. There's probably like close to 10 people murdered that night. And he's probably, losing his mind. Before this, his life was like making sure kids got home before the curfew. Now he's dealing with this mass murder and he doesn't know how to handle it. So I just picture him being overweight, stressed out of his mind, fully bearded because he's just given up all hope in life. You can make a whole episode. If this was like a series, like I said, you could make this a 10-episode series of Stranger Things. In that vein, you follow this doppelganger demon for a longer course of like 10 episodes, maybe it'd be like a 6-hour miniseries. You could get a more personal viewing of the doppelganger demon and all of these themes and shit. But that's not how I write. I just want to get this story out there and see what happens in the future. So we're viewing this video of Officer Valinsky. All these reporters are approaching him as he's going into the police station. Valinsky, I told you vultures to get out of here and leave this community alone. You're going to turn us into a ghost town. Now we see a video of an elderly Pelpod male resident. And the resident is speaking. If you really want to know the truth, I can tell you the truth. Kids have no respect today. They rot their minds with those video games and heavy metal music. Now we see a video of another elderly Pelpod female resident. The first one was a male resident, if I didn't say that. The Pelpod resident female is on camera. Everyone lost their faith. And when that happens in a town like this, the devil swoops right in and manipulates the minds of the youth. Now we're viewing a photo of BB's chest with that pentagram and the 666 as the field reporter continues a voiceover. We've obtained previously unseen photos from the horrific scene and of the young man the community knew as BB Stewart. We see a photo of BB smiling in his baseball uniform. Now we see a photo of the tree inscription, "The devil made us, BB," that supposedly he put into the tree. Now we're watching a video of the paper boy. So maybe he's a little bit older at this point. Paper boy. I saw him that morning during my route. Had blood all over him like a complete psycho. Now we see a video of the Pelpod Armadillos practicing on the baseball field and Coach Roddy in front of the dugout and Coach Roddy speaking. Yeah, I saw him that night. He was hiding in my backyard. If I had only known the sickness in that boy's head, I would have killed him myself right then and there. Now we see a video of the cocky teen again. The cocky teen in this movie is kind of like the comic relief in a way. Video of cocky teen. He's in a mechanic's uniform in front of a repair shop. Cocky teen. They all made a deal with the devil. Cursed that whole bleak town. Just glad I got the hell out. The field reporter now stands out front of the police station again. Field reporter. This time the reporter's on camera speaking. No matter how Pelpod residents feel, there are still a lot of unanswered questions from that mysterious night of bloodshed. We see more photos of devil drawings and demons from various lore books. And now we see a video of a priest from one of the local churches, Pelpad priest. Most people believe the devil is just a fairy tale, a symbolic way to help lead children towards the righteous path. Now we view a photo of the pentagram drawing on BB's chest again. Pelpad priest is doing a voiceover as we view this photo. Well, I can tell you that the devil is real, waiting to corrupt both the young and old, and taking on any form that helps support that mission. So it's a pretty lengthy news report here. But again, this is a trope that a lot of movies use to get information out after the fact. Because just think about that, a small town, and it's happened, and I'll talk about this after I read the rest of this. Let me finish this last page. It's very short. I'm on page 48 right now. Now we are following the ice cream truck as it rides on a beach road in the same town. We were at the tiki bar. Now we're moving away from the tiki bar, following the ice cream truck. As the jingle plays, and the ice cream truck is riding down the beautiful beach town where tourists are walking down the sidewalk in their beach clothes, carrying their beach gear. The ice cream truck slows down in front of a family of 4 as the young daughter, 7, grabs her mother's hand. Daughter, "Mommy, mommy, ice cream." The son, who's also around the same age, grabs a few dollars from his father, then runs towards the ice cream truck with his sister as they scream together, "Ice cream, ice cream." They approach the counter where good old reliable ice cream man leans out the side window with that same sparkly smile and that same 1950s uniform. Ice cream man. "Hey, kiddos." And that's the end. There's a lot to take in there. I said I'm like confused myself at this point. It's been a while since I read this story, and it's like I understand what I was going for, and I still have most of this plot detailed in my head still. But it's hard when you write a story like this and then you let it sit for 5 years, or anything you do, it's not going to be fresh in your head. And while I was reading the second part right now, I was thinking to myself, are there any plot holes? Will any of this not make sense in terms of logistics? Any gaping plot holes? Because I never want to have a plot hole in any of this shit. I don't think I do. I really think I kind of covered all the bases here. And by the way, as the end credits play, we're going to listen to a song called "Walk My Shadow Home" by Olga. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce her name. Wojciechowska. Sorry, Olga. But maybe I'll share her song so people could listen to that if they haven't found that already. So, what was this story going for in the second part? I'm trying, and it's actually kind of weird. I'm stuttering because I got a lot of thoughts going inside my head right now. Later, maybe a couple years after I wrote this, there was a couple movies and shows that came out that were concerning the satanic panic of the 80s with heavy metal music, and people thought their kids were becoming devil worshippers, and you heard some reports in the news about shit like that these teenagers were listening to heavy metal music and Ozzy Osbourne and all this shit, and it was turning them to the dark side, kind of similar to Dungeons and Dragons, which some people consider that occult stuff. That's your entryway into warlock shit and all that demonic shit. There's different gateways to the occult type of lifestyle, I guess. So I feel like that was a big part of the 80s. And yeah, there was a Julie Bowen show on Peacock, I forget, Hysteria, that dealt with that. And I want to say there was something else, but I forget right now. So it's kind of a interesting look back for the kids of today that don't know what the 80s were like. I think that's a cool way to look back at that time period. I don't really remember it because I never listened to heavy metal too much. And I didn't really start listening to music until the 90s. It was more grunge and punk rock than heavy metal stuff. But I appreciate Black Sabbath. I've tried to model one of my albums based on Black Sabbath type of music. I like psychedelic heavy metal more than like the death metal where it's just blah, 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 blah. That doesn't do much for me. I appreciate more melodic stuff, but I can possibly like some of it. I'll just end it there so I don't talk too much about my own opinions on heavy metal music. But then in the 90s, people were like, there were school shootings and everyone saying the culture is becoming godless and more violent. It's because of the video games. It's because of Tarantino and these violent movies. It's because of whatever the fuck else. Marilyn Manson was one of the reasons, and desensitizing people to violence. And I don't know, maybe there's something to that. People do become desensitized to violence because we live in a very violent, gun-happy society. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're going to load up American cities and towns with everyone armed to the fucking teeth because America loves fucking guns, man. And I won't really talk about that too much, but it's just a part of American culture, whether you like it or not. People take the Second Amendment maybe more seriously than the First Amendment. Dave Chappelle had a quote that I put in my book. The First Amendment is fine, but the Second Amendment's there in case the First Amendment doesn't work. And that's a pretty good quote because people are paranoid all the time in America. They're always fed these news reports about crime and losing your job and gangs invading from Mexico with all these drugs, fentanyl, killing all these people, terrorism, all this shit. So it's no shock that people would want to get guns. There's so many things on the news to scare the shit out of people. You can understand why people want to have guns, especially in certain places where you don't really have a police force and you're kind of like Wild West living. So yeah, I'm not anti-gun. I've never shot a gun. I don't really plan to own a gun ever in my life because I'm just not a gun person. I've never been around people who are gun people. I don't know what it's like to be that NRA gun-loving citizen. I've never had that even a brief experience of that, like going to a gun range. It's not even something I'm really interested in doing. The closest I can get to gun porn, if you can call it that, is like watching Pawn Stars, because I love Pawn Stars. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. Pawn Stars, I could watch that all day, man. It's educational, but it's entertaining. One of the best shows ever, in my opinion. If I ever get to the Southwest and I could visit Las Vegas again, yeah, I'm definitely going to the Pawn Stars shop because, yeah, I love those guys. Pawn Stars and American Pickers and even Storage Wars, but a little bit less these days. I think those are two of my favorite shows, American Pickers and Pawn Stars, yeah. If I was on a desert island, I could only pick a couple shows to watch. Those would be two of them. You could seriously watch Pawn Stars all day and even repeat episodes that you've already seen. But I don't know why, it just has this effect on me. I could just watch it over and over again. I like to know what things are worth, I guess. Because at one point I was going to thrift stores a lot, so I think that's a part of that obsession in a way. But yeah, they're just likable characters. They did that show really well. So what was I talking about? The satanic panic is a part of this story, yeah. People want to blame all these external societal ills because they don't know what else to blame when horrific senseless act of violence occurs, you don't know who to blame because you want to blame outside forces and not look at yourself or inside your own capability for evil. People want to blame the media, blame all these outside things, and I understand it. I talk shit about the media almost in every recording I do. How much propaganda and fear mongering is on the news and other things online, social media, and yeah, it's a dangerous entity to itself. But what was I really saying with how this story unfolded? This doppelganger demon represents, like, I guess, the evil that's apparent in all cultures, because every culture has had some kind of fucked up history, or if you don't even want to look at it at that macro of a level, just look at internally yourself. So this doppelganger demon comes into this town. He picks some vulnerable kids that are playing Jailbreak, and he selects them to fuck with on that night. So he takes the form of their body, and he goes into their homes and kills their parents, and then he ends the night by framing BB. Everyone thinks BB did all this shit, and maybe the police don't have the answers for the tree thing. Like, how the fuck would BB be able to put these other bodies in the tree? Because right now, they have no idea about this ice cream man. The only thing that was any connection was that in passing, when Officer Valinsky saw BB that night riding his bike, and BB was saying, "There's an ice cream man, he did this, blah, blah, blah." But he just thought it was some stupid, childish shit, so he didn't pay attention to it. So right now, BB's the only suspect. It's almost like this doppelganger demon, not almost like, that was his intent, was to frame BB, to make it look like BB killed all these kids and killed all the parents, or he was the head of this satanic ritual thing, and he was leading all the other kids to kill their parents or whatever. It's an interesting look at that. It's almost like as the demon is working for the evil intentions, the dark side, to make sure people still know it's a thing. And it's weird because it's almost like religion needs that. Religion relies on that fear mongering too. It's a good way to increase membership through the generations, to say, well, if you're with us, then you're protected from this evil, bad juju, bad demonic shit. If you're with our religion, then you're free from that. So religion relies on the devil. Where would all of this heaven and all that good stuff be without hell and the devil? Like, you need both sides of it as a religion almost. At least some of the religions, maybe other ones, more the Eastern type of religions, are more of a way of life and not about heaven and hell and the dichotomy between good and evil. Again, I'm not a religious scholar, so I'm not going to really get more detailed than what I just said. But I feel like Eastern religion is based on a different worldview. That's not everything is comparable as black and white or good and evil. It's more nuanced, or more just as a guideline to kind of get through life with a peaceful state of mind. It's not so much about, hey, if you're not good, the devil's going to come and take you down to hell and you're going to burn there forever, motherfucker. Like, it's not so much based in that type of a, do I want to say pagan there? A cult? I don't know. But those religions rely on that shit. It's almost like a symbiotic relationship between the church and the more demonic entities. They need that shit. I'm sure the church, when The Exorcist came out, the church probably loved that shit. It's like showing people the horrific nature of demonic possession, which supposedly the Vatican actually has a budget set aside for exorcisms and shit. So they actually say that stuff's true. They're not even hiding it. Whether you want to believe in that shit is up to the individual. Just like I put that priest at the end who had a similar message. What was his line? I can tell you that the devil is real, waiting to corrupt both the young and old, taking on any form that helps support that mission. So I kind of wanted to put that in there at the end as a nod to that type of a theme, of a concept, that there's almost a symbiotic relationship between good and evil. But depending on how you look at it, depending on where you live, depending on your family background or what country you live in, your opinion on what good and what is evil is going to be different than somebody else. So it's weird to really get to the, I don't know how that relates to this story, but it's got to have some relation, or I'm just talking more nonsense. I don't know. Besides these themes that I'm trying to get out, it's just a cool story, man. To have this demonic doppelganger that takes the form of an ice cream truck man, and he invades the suburbs and kind of corrupts the youth. In one night, he's able to destroy this one suburban town because people will probably not want to live there anymore. I think I had more dialogue in that last scene with the video, like in the news report. I'm pretty sure I had more dialogue, but I thought it was too long-winded. You just think about that. In one night, there's 10 murders in a town. Absolutely, property value will go down. It's like if you go buy a house and there was a murder in the house, the realtor is probably not going to tell you about it because that's going to bring the value down. If you go to buy a house and there was like a murder, suicide, or some shit like that, yeah, nobody's going to want to live there unless you get some witch doctor to come like re-bless the house and get rid of the evil spirits inside. If you believe in that shit. I don't really believe in that stuff, but I would think twice, to be honest. If I was going to buy a property and there was some horrific event, like a poltergeist type of movie, I'm probably not going to buy that house. I'm not going to lie. I don't even confess or profess to believe in that shit, in the spirit world and all that shit. I really don't really believe in that stuff. I've never experienced it, and of course you're not going to believe in something until you really legitimately experience some weird supernatural shit. So even if it happened, I'd still probably be cynical because I'd be like, it was hologram or some bullshit. So yeah, those movies don't really do much for me. Those Paranormal Activity, when they set up a video camera in the bedroom to see all the spirits that are fucking with them at nighttime. It doesn't do much as a horror movie. It's not something I return to. Or those ghost shows, the Ghost Hunters. Yeah, I never watched that shit. I have very little interest in that kind of shit. But a movie like this hits kind of different levels to me. There's a Goonies side of it. There's a Stand By Me side of it. There's a Halloween side to this. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, definitely. And I really think this script could work as a hour-long look at how certain events can be manipulated. You could say, what a horrific event. That town is going to be scarred forever. That town, no one's going to want to live there anymore after that shit. And that could be true. Like, I don't know how to connect it to anywhere else. Well, I spoke of Waco, Texas, and my only biased perception of Waco, Texas, is because of the shit that happened in early 90s with the Branch Davidians and David Koresh, and then the FBI came and assaulted his complex. I don't know if it was a lot of people that got killed. I don't remember the whole story. I was young. I was probably like 10 or 11. But yeah, my perception of Waco, Texas, if I'm ever driving through Waco, Texas, I'm going to be like, oh shit, where's the Branch Davidians? And it's not fair. It's probably a great place. But it's kind of the reason why corporations change their name with the 2008 financial collapse. All these banks started changing their names or merging. You look at in Philadelphia where the Flyers and Sixers play, it's been called the First Union Center, Wachovia, Wells Fargo. I don't even know what the hell it is now. It keeps changing, and I think large corporations have that luxury to either declare bankruptcy and just start up again because of that whole too big to fail philosophy, or rebrand, change their name to something else. Didn't AIG do that? A lot of those companies that were involved in the corruption of the 2008 bubble, the housing collapse, I feel like in the credit rating people, I feel like they changed their names and rebranded. But again, I don't know enough about this. See, I was wrong. AIG did not change its corporate name, but it rebranded its life and retirement business to Core Bridge Financial in 2022, so a couple years ago. Blah, blah, blah. So maybe they didn't really care that much. I'm sure there's some examples, though. And let me look it up since I'm kind of interested myself. Because that was a big deal. You lose your credibility if you're involved in that shit. You would just instantly lose your credibility. These banks are so big that they have that luxury to just say, fuck it, let's change our name to something else. I could be completely wrong here. But I don't remember too much about the 2008 shit. I really wasn't paying attention to it. I watched those movies there that were good. The Steve Carell one, whatever that was called. Oh man, I forget. But it was really good. It was well done when he goes out to kind of investigate the housing bubble, and he's talking to strippers, and they own like three separate houses. Because at that point it was like the predatory loans. They would take out these crazy loans and kind of trap people, but eventually it just collapsed on itself. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But what was I talking about? I don't remember now. What other themes can I really connect to this story? A story like this that's kind of horrific. I don't know. I think I kind of dipped my toes into everything I wanted to speak about. I have ideas for sequels to this. I have an idea for a sequel that kind of involves my time as a beer vendor. I used to, I probably said this story. I used to work at Philadelphia Phillies games and Eagles games, selling beer as a vendor. And I kind of came up with this idea for an episode later if I want to continue the storyline of the ice cream man. And I actually had another one too. I had like 2 possible sequels to this because I really liked his character was just so creepy and good. I think the other one has to do with Wall Street. Like he would be somehow involved with the 2008 banking crisis. Maybe he becomes a food vendor and he's like working in New York City at that point in his life. I don't know. It probably ruins it if you add stories like that. Because right now, our last view of the ice cream man was new kids coming up to him in this new place, this beach town. That's like the essence of making it in America. If you can own a beach home in some nice beach community, and here comes the ice cream man. He's about to ruin another another town of American youth. He's about to corrupt another town. Maybe he's sent in by real estate moguls to bring down the property value. So another so another company can come in and buy this property for a cheaper price. That's not really that radical. Think about that conspiracy. There's a town that you kind of want the land, so you start crime and you start all these other things to bring down the property value, and people start moving out and shit, and then another company swoops in, investment firm or whatever, and they buy the property on the cheap. People were doing that in 2008. People were losing their homes left and right, and then they couldn't pay the interest or anything from these predatory loans, and then other people would take advantage of that and buy this property probably at foreclosures and stuff. So it's not that radical to think of something like that. It's almost like that Sopranos episode. Tony buys like a lake house or some shit, and his neighbors are like these, kind of rich people, and I don't know, Tony kind of doesn't want to live there anymore. He's trying to sell the house or some shit, or he's trying to sell the house back. He kind of regrets buying it. So this guy's like, no, you bought it. You can fucking deal with it. And then Tony starts playing the loud music each night from his boat to piss these people off. It was something like that. I don't know why that memory just popped up. That was a pretty funny scene though. But yeah, there's a lot of different manipulations that could be present in a story like this that's above the surface, in the form of a doppelganger demon that can take the form of anyone he sees. But then there's those underlying manipulations that aren't as apparent, that the loss of innocence in a suburban town because of this shit. And people are going to blame this kid who's just a victim himself because he was the one singled out by the doppelganger to be, I don't know, it's fucked up. It's a fucked up story like that. Everyone in the town is going to think BB killed all these people somehow, that he must have summoned the powers of Satan and did all this shit himself. So it's a crazy story. I think it goes on a lot of different levels like that. And maybe there's things I haven't really digested yet as I read through this again, and I'm trying to come up with more intelligible explanations for things. But really, it's a simple story. It's not as complicated as I'm making it out. In terms of the production cost, yeah, again, you probably need some CGI stuff to make this look cool in terms of the demon and how you're going to make that cave dwelling with all these paintings on the wall look really crazy. But people are going to think that BB did all that shit. That's kind of why the doppelganger demon left BB in that field with blood all over himself. Because they're going to test that blood when the doppelganger demon spits out all that blood all over BB and then paints the pentagram on his chest later. BB walks home covered in all that blood, and he's got the pentagram on his chest. So, of course, the police are going to test all that blood if they can. Back in the 90s, if they had that capability, I don't know. They're going to put two and two together anyway and be like, well, I don't know what else of an explanation you can come up with, really. BB must have been leading his friends in a satanic ritual or some shit. That's what it's framed as by the doppelganger. So it's kind of cool to put it like that. He could be like a Loki. Isn't that kind of Loki, the Greek god? He's kind of a mischievous god that does things just for the fuck of it, just to spread chaos, just to spread fear and to remind people of the dark side. what is the real motivation of the doppelganger demon to do something like this? I don't know. Is he taking orders from somebody else? It could be whatever explanation you want to put there, because I don't really have one to say this is exactly this doppelganger's motivation for choosing BB and doing all this shit. No, sometimes people just spread chaos because they want to spread chaos. They don't have a reason. It's actually maybe the majority of the time. Sometimes, the police will look for a motive and they're like, we don't have a motive. It's just chaos for the sake of chaos. It's not completely absent from the human condition. There I go again, speaking of the human condition. It's not really absent from the human condition to spread chaos for the fuck of it. Like that in Donnie Darko, the Grant Green book about the kids who burn down people's homes just for the hell of it. Or they go into the house and they just destroy the dude's house for no reason. I think I read that book, a short story by Grant Green because of the Donnie Darko connection. Speaking of fucked up, psychologically messed up movies, Donnie Darko is definitely up there. I don't really talk about Donnie Darko that much when I do these analyses of my screenplays, but that's up there. Donnie Darko is a big influence on me in my writing, and in something like this, Donnie Darko probably plays a role in some degree. I saw that movie in college, and I probably watched it another 5 times, and I still don't understand it. It's one of those movies that is very complicated, about parallel timelines and that type of a science fiction look, but it's also just a terrifying movie. And it's one of the best. I love the soundtrack. I learned of that Tears for Fear song through that movie. Head Over Heels. The Destructors, yeah. Sorry, I was looking that up. I actually did read this book years ago. I downloaded a Kindle book of Grant Green short stories, and the one in the movie Donnie Darko is The Destructors. Not Grant Green, Graham Greene, sorry. Graham Greene. And he wrote this story in 1954 called The Destructors. It was kind of set in the 1950s, and it's a boys gang that kind of just wrecks this dude's home, right? Something like that. Yeah, they keep destroying this dude's house, and I don't really know what the point of it is. I don't remember, but in Donnie Darko, they talk about it in this high school class. They're trying to speak about the themes of Graham Greene, The Destructors, in the English class, and it's related to the story later because Donnie floods the school and does other crazy shit later on. And yeah, it's just like, and then the PTA forms and tries to get the book banned, like the scene in Field of Dreams with Terrence Mann's book. So yeah, that's another trope in movies, I guess. But why was I bringing that up? Donnie Darko it's a horror movie, it's a science fiction movie, and it's good to end on this note. So far, we've done a Western in episode 1. We've experienced the science fiction, kind of metaphysical journey with Lori in Expanding Universe, episode 2. And we're finishing this one as a horrific tale of this crazy demonic ice cream man. Now, there's so much potential for this movie, and I'm going to speak very brash right now. Like, how could anyone not want to make this fucking movie, man? It's so good. Every time you see an ice cream truck passing by, you're gonna automatically think of this fucking movie, man. You can't have any marketing better than that. It's not gonna ruin like the thrill of getting ice cream from an ice cream truck in the summertime. It's just gonna add that other dimension. Like people will, at least when the movie first comes out, people will have a different perception of when the ice cream truck comes riding through your town. They're going to be thinking of satanic, demonic shit because of this movie. And yeah, how could you not want to make this movie? It's such a good angle of a horror film. There's a movie called Ice Cream Man from like the 90s, and it had the same similar premise where this ice cream man was kind of this deranged person. And he goes and maybe he kills some of the people and puts them in the ice cream. I don't remember. It wasn't that good. I watched it later. I wanted to see how they developed the character, but it's not like he was a demonic entity. I can't think of his name. I think it's Ron Howard's brother. Ron Howard, Ice Cream Man, horror movie. Yeah, there we go. It came 1995. Clint Howard. Yeah, I don't even know if that's Ron Howard's brother, but I think so. It's a 1995. According to Google, it's a cult classic horror comedy starring Clint Howard as the ice cream man who's kind of mentally unstable. And he's just released from a psychiatric hospital. Yeah, and he uses human body parts in his recipes to create special treats for unappreciative children. So he's chopping people up and serving them in the ice cream or some shit like that. Soylent Green, It Was People. Directed by Paul Norman under the pseudonym Norman Epstein. Written by David Dobkin and Sven Davison. The film is known for its bizarre, so bad it's good campiness. So yeah, it's a slasher movie about this crazy, deranged ice cream man, and he kills people and serves them in the ice cream. I did watch it. It really wasn't that good. Based on this, Rotten Tomatoes, it's like 45%. It's a campy movie from the 90s that really wasn't that good. So I didn't feel threatened by it like somebody would accuse me of copying that, because I thought the concept was so good when I first had this idea. When I share this on Substack later today, I'm going to share the notes I wrote when I first outlined my script to kind of show you how I handle stuff like that. I found it yesterday, still in my drive, and I'm like, holy shit, I totally forgot about it. When I first sit down to outline a story like this, I just kind of, I don't know, write 50 scene headings or whatever the number was, and I'll just put really quickly, like almost like Mad Libs, like you just think of the first thing that pops in your head. I'll think of 30 scenes and just write little words to connect each one together before I start really creating the characters and fleshing out the story. And I said, if I ever return to screenwriting, if I can actually make fucking money off of this, it'll take me a little while to get back to that type of a expression, because it is complicated, man. It probably took me a good month to completely make this story what it is today. It probably, when I first started writing this, it probably took me a couple days, but then if you look at the editing process and how many times I had to change things and add scenes and edit my grammar, and I still need to go back and do that. When I'm reading the action scenes, it's almost like I'm redeveloping a different voice, so I make it more clear to the reader of what's going on in the action. But yeah, if you want to watch a campy horror film with the crazy ice cream man, go watch Ice Cream Man. It's from 1995 with Clint Howard playing the Ice Cream Man. But I'm not like feeling like I'm copying that. First of all, I didn't know that movie existed until a couple of years later. I happened to find it on like YouTube or something, and I think I did watch it. But mine is completely different storyline. It's about the occult. It's about more of a demonic side of things. And I think it's a cool story that could work as a graphic novel. And I'll keep repeating that. Yeah, there's so much potential for this, man. As a franchise, I don't want to bring back like the Friday the 13th part 7. Like it just kept going and going until it got so stupid. I don't want to have a Police Academy 13 and like I do like Police Academy movies, by the way. It's just, yeah, they kind of get how many times can you make that movie? Just like there's a line in my screenplay for this where Sally says that to Sam. Sam's like, oh, there's a new Halloween movie out. Maybe it was the one that Rob Zombie did or something. But there's been so many Halloween sequels, and then the reimaginings with Rob Zombie, which I don't think I've even watched yet, even though I'm a pretty big fan of Rob Zombie. How many sequels of Halloween are there for real? And Sally says back to Sam in the script, like, how many times can you make that movie? And it's true. Like, I'm not trying to do that. I don't even know if I would want one sequel to this story unless the story is good enough. Because, of course, they suffer. I was such a big fan of the original Halloween that I did watch all the other ones. Probably, at least. And I don't think they were terrible. But there was like Halloween H2O or some shit, like 20 years later. All right, how many Halloween movies are there? Yeah, it's absurd. There is, according to this, there is about 13 or so. Going from 2022 was the last one. Halloween Ends. There's Halloween Kills. There's just Halloween from 2018. There's Halloween 2. Maybe some of these were like the Rob Zombie ones. I don't know. Halloween Resurrection. Halloween H2O. I do remember that one. And that was kind of good, actually. Halloween The Curse. Halloween 5, The Raven. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Halloween 3, Return, what does it say? Season of the Witch. Alright, that sounds pretty cool, actually. Halloween 2 is just Halloween 2. I probably did watch these, but I don't remember them. But the original Halloween is so good that it's almost like you don't want to ruin the legacy of that movie by making 12 more sequels. You kind of just want to leave it alone. But yeah, there's 13 films as well as novels, comic books, a video game. I'm not trying to duplicate that, but as a one-time movie, this movie could be like a franchise, man. I'm maybe more confident in this one as a marketing vehicle because I really think people would enjoy this. People would want to share this story with other people and make this a reality. Like, can I crowdfund this? Find a director, find actors. I don't know. How the fuck do you get involved? I believe John Carpenter kind of had to fight his way to make Halloween. He wasn't a known quantity to make money for any studio, like I said. There's a good documentary about the making of Halloween that really inspired me because they had a very limited budget. They were kind of an innovative approach to this new style of movie making. Their different camera angles and how do you build suspense. And I want to say they tested the film. Again, I could be making this up, but it makes sense at least in my brain. If you test Halloween to an audience without a soundtrack, like the creepy Halloween music, the theme that John Carpenter composed. If you show that movie without the music, I don't think it has the same effect on people. Just like Jaws without the dun dun, it would suck. Jaws is one of the best horror movies ever. And it's such a simple idea. How can you get more of a simple plot than sharks are eating people in a beach town? You can't come up with a more simple story than that, but it's such a brilliant movie because of the directing and the story and the music. Without that music, I don't think Jaws would be a classic movie. That's my opinion, but I think a lot of people might agree with me. Without the dun dun dun, I don't think it has that same nostalgia factor. People would say, "Oh yeah, what was that movie from the '70s with the shark?" But because of the marketing angle of a movie like that, it's so memorable because of the theme music and everything else that, yeah, people, Jaws will never go away. People will be watching Jaws with every generation to come, kind of like Dark Side of the Moon. That album will never go away. It's always going to be reissued. The 200th reissue, 200th anniversary of Dark Side of the Moon. By then, like, there'll be like holograms of David Gilmour and Roger Waters coming out of the record player, like you're seeing them play in a concert or some shit like that. But there's a reason why movies like Jaws and albums like Dark Side of the Moon are always going to sell, because there's a almost legendary, larger than life appeal to media like that. Everyone knows the cover of Dark Side of the Moon, whether you go to Turkey or Haiti or fucking, I don't know, Timbuktu. You can go anywhere in the world, and most likely people would have heard of Dark Side of the Moon or Steven Spielberg Jaws. It's a universal type of story or music. It's a universal form of media that kind of connects people together in kind of an interesting way. So that's, yeah. Do I think this story could be like Jaws if done correctly? I'm not going to say that, because even Jaws had like how many fucking sequels to that movie, where I'm sure it suffered after a while. I don't remember the sequels. I probably did watch them at one point in my life, but the first Jaws is so perfect that if it's up to me, I would have said, don't make any sequels. The first Halloween, the original, was so perfect that I'd be more inclined to say the same thing. Don't make any sequels. So I might be kind of have to convince myself of the same thing, that hypothetically, if this movie got made and it made like hundreds of millions of dollars and it becomes the screenplay that finally launches my career in Hollywood or whatever the fuck you want to say, and I became a known commodity as a writer, and the studios, like the studio that bought this movie and produced it and distributed it around the world, they're like, dude, you got to make a sequel, man. We just made $500 trillion billion off this shit. You got to make a sequel. And I'd be like, no, man, you got to keep it. You got to keep it true to the art, and you can't bring Ice Cream Man back. You ended the movie perfectly. And they'll be like, dude, we will fucking shoot you in the dick if you don't make a sequel. I don't care how bad and stupid it is, but people want to see a sequel. So I guess that happens sometimes, where you're pressured into it, because Jaws, everyone went to the theater and saw Jaws. So it's like, they probably asked James Cameron, dude, can you make a sequel to Titanic? Just like make it sink again or some shit like that. Because that movie made like $1 billion. Well, he did make a sequel to Avatar. I think James Cameron has like some of the most high grossing films of all times. Titanic, Avatar, and maybe something else. I don't know. I actually did go to the theater to see both of those, so it's true. I saw Titanic in the theater, and I saw Avatar in the theater with, I believe, 3D glasses back when that was a thing. But yeah, that's a long time ago when going to the movie theater was like a common thing people did. I don't know if it's still like that, but yeah, I don't know what else I could really say. This is such an easily marketable movie. There's so many good selling points where I could probably pitch this movie better, pitch this script to be made into a movie. I can pitch this one better than anything else because I'm not the, and it's weird because I'm not the biggest horror fan. I don't go to those conventions where people dress up like vampires and whatever the fuck else. But I appreciate a good horror movie that has those underlying themes that can connect to a global audience. I really do appreciate that genre of art because horror films can speak to so many different themes that politically, religious, in a spiritual fashion, psychologically, and people will take something else, something different from a movie like this. People will come away and they'll probably connect this to something else in their subconscious or something from their childhood or whatever, something from their religious upbringing, because it deals a lot with the occult and stuff like that. Like, it's an interesting thing to look at. After The Exorcism came out and scared the shit out of people, did people like flock back to church? Like, oh fuck, I need some God in my life after watching that demon teenage girl with her head going around in a 360, spitting out this disgusting vomit all over the priest. It would be interesting to see that. The Catholic Church might have been like, thank God for The Exorcist. Maybe that movie increased membership. People were freaking out like, oh fuck, all this devil shit is real. I don't know. I guess that would have to be a conversation to have with somebody who studies stuff like that. But yeah, I guess I've talked for enough. But yeah, I'm so confident. I don't want to stop talking. I'm so confident in this story, the way I see it in my head. The only issue is that you need a younger cast. You need people in their very either be 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. You need a young cast like Stranger Things. I don't know how old those kids were in the first season, because to make it believable, I don't think teenagers past the age of 12 are going to be playing Jailbreak. They're going to be the ones drinking in the woods, like I depicted. Once you get to high school, then you're trying to get laid, you're trying to get drunk or stoned, listen to music, watch movies, all those other kiddie games like Jailbreak. You're not really doing anymore. Once I got to high school, all that shit evaporated. Playing Jailbreak probably up till I was about 10 or 11 years old. I would probably guess that's when that period ended after that point, once everyone started going to high school. But we still did stupid shit, but it was a different type of a mischief than hiding in people's backyards and being stupid like that. So, yeah, you really need to have a cast the same age as Stranger Things. You have to view this one episode as a Stranger Things season, because this could be a season of Stranger Things if you stretch this out and you really played up on the doppelganger, his capabilities of inflicting this chaos and trauma to a small town like that. It's a really interesting concept. And I'll say it again, man, it's so easily marketed. the movie poster, you just show the ice cream man smiling, like his creepy smile. Like everything depends on that. Whoever is going to cast this movie, you would have to find someone like the villain in No Country for Old Men, how he kind of stole the show, and everyone comments on how creepy that guy looked. Javier Bardem, maybe. I'm probably saying his name wrong. Sorry. But yeah, the scene when he's flipping the coin in the gas station with the and yeah, there's just so many great scenes like that. And people said he's like Hannibal Lecter, the epitome of evil. Well, this character is a little different. If you're casting for the Ice Cream Man, I don't know who I picture. I picture like a very attractive dude out of the 1950s with that type of 1950s look, like he's out of a television ad marketing toothpaste or some shit. That's what I picture in my head. And this guy is just so creepy, but he's got that wide grin smile. So he's like an attractive, probably in his 30s, I guess, around that age group. That's kind of what I see, but I don't have any actors in my head like I did in some of my other characters. But yeah, he's the most important casting by far is the Ice Cream Man, to get the right actor with the right attitude and the right portrayal of a character like that. But yeah, Loki from those Marvel movies would be the closest thing I could think of, a character like that who's kind of just like doing chaos for chaos's sake. That's the only actor I would think of, and I don't even know who played Loki because I don't really get into Marvel too much. It's probably somebody famous. All right, Tom Hiddleston. Yeah, he kind of fits. I'm looking at a picture of him right now. He kind of looks like what the Ice Cream Man would look like. He's got the weird smile almost, like too much of a smile. His resting face is like a smile. Tom Hiddleston plays Loki in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The British actor has portrayed the God of Mischief since 2011 from Thor, the Avengers, blah, blah, blah. So maybe that's the only actor that I could envision right now playing, to give you a visual of what the Ice Cream Man looks like in my head. Yeah, just look up Tom Hiddleston, if I'm saying his name right. The guy who played Loki in all the Marvel movies. But yeah, that's the most important casting. Everything else, good luck. You know, I don't know how it works with labor laws. You have to get child actors, and that's probably not as easy to film anything with kid actors. But it's done. People made Goonies, people made Stand By Me, The Lost Boys, and tons of other movies with a young cast like that. And the only thing I could think of is Stranger Things. Like, what other horror movies are out there that uses a young cast like that besides It, the movie It? That's probably the other one that influenced this from my childhood, where all the kids have to fight the clown at the end and kill the fucking spider. That's kind of what I remember as a kid being kind of freaked out about. What horror movies feature a young cast? Maybe that will refresh my memory. It's like, I don't want to end this talk right now because I want to actually find someone to sell this to. It's weird, man. Well, they list, according to Google, yeah, Stranger Things is the first one. Super 8. I think that's Spielberg too. But I don't remember it too much. Talk to Me, I don't know. The Monster Squad, I don't know. The Faculty, I kind of remember that one being kind of dark. The Faculty, high schoolers discover their teachers are aliens. I kind of remember that one. Idle Hands, maybe a little. All right, they list it. It's probably maybe the closest one. I never watched The Gate from 1987. Young boys accidentally open a hole to hell. All right, I'll put that on the to watch list. Hocus Pocus, that's kind of a Disney type of movie though. Kids battle witches in Salem. Yeah, so I have to find a couple with more of a dark element because I think Hocus Pocus is kind of a comedy almost. But yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of other ones. I have to end this now because I'm over 2 hours. But seriously, this one, I'll end it with that. It's so easy to pitch a movie like this because people love horror movies and people like to get freaked out. And this movie will be disturbing and freaky as hell. I didn't write this with the intent of that, but I also like types of movies like that. At least in my past, I enjoyed it more, maybe. I don't really watch movies in general right now, at least. I'm kind of just repeating stuff I've watched in the past. But yeah, this is so easily marketed. Like, I just want to make this myself right now. Somehow, how do I make this myself besides what I just did? Talk the script out like I'm doing a director's commentary, even though I'm not the one that's going to direct this. I'm just giving my general thoughts of how this story came out of my head. And the only connection to my own life is just really because I used to play Jailbreak as a kid through the suburbs, and I played baseball as a kid, even though I sucked. And that's about it. I rode bikes as a kid. Everything else just formed from my love of horror movies. There's not a rhyme and reason. This isn't really a personal connection to my life. Although when I was writing it, I was just kind of remembering things that we used to do when we were playing Jailbreak or doing shit like that. So yeah, there's a piece of me in everything I write because you have to write from your own personal experience. Of course, that's normal. But also, yeah, these characters have nothing to do with me. Wherever this is set, it might have a little bit to do with me. I grew up in the middle class suburban town, so it could be set up like the town I grew up in. A very working class, middle class, suburban community. And that's what I picture in my head when I wrote these scenes. I think it plays well, just like in Halloween. That's probably the most, if you made Halloween in the city, which I think Jason did, there was one sequel of Friday the 13th where they put Jason in the city, Jason in Manhattan or some shit. Am I making this up? Am I from a parallel universe right now? So yeah, the setting is everything. If you made this movie in a city, it wouldn't have the same type of a paranoid quality than if you make it in a suburban, quiet suburban community. So the setting's very important. Yeah, Jason, Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Probably watched that at some point in my childhood. Yeah, there's a scene with Jason walking through Times Square. This is what I'm talking about. Why would you want to ruin a franchise? I'm sure kids in the late 80s were getting stoned. They're like, you want to go see Friday the 13th, Part 8? How many times can you make this fucking movie, man? Jason Voorhees stalks a group of high school graduates on a cruise ship to New York City, leading to a bloody rampage on this ship and in the city streets and subway. Alright, it actually sounds kind of cool now. I'm making fun of this, but This sounds like the coolest movie ever. Directed by Rob Hedden and starring Kane Hodder as Jason. The film was a major box office disappointment, received negative reviews, partly due to its failure to deliver on the Manhattan premise, with most of the action taking place on the ship. Yeah, I'm sure it's terrible, but it sounds cool in theory. Jason unleashed in the fucking city. See, it doesn't make sense because all he has is a machete, man. People in the city are packing the drug dealers on the street corner and shit like that. They fucking light him up with all their semi-automatic rifles and shit. I said that the last time. That Jason or Freddy kills Jason. Jason goes to hell, where they lead him in this trap, and then the army's there and just blows him to shreds with machine guns. That one was actually pretty good, from what I remember as a kid. But yeah, it gets ridiculous once you start making part 7, part 8. Ernest. How many Ernest movies were there? Alright, I'm going to stop this now. I don't know how else I would sell this movie to a production company than what I just did for the last 2.5 hours. I'm just putting it out there. All I can do is put this shit out there. I can't make these films myself. I can only write the stories and just hope to God of entertainment that people will see the vision and the passion I have for this. This is only episode 3, man. These could all be feature films if you really think about it. That someone would have to adapt this screenplay into a feature-length screenplay, because that's the only mode I write in. I don't write short stories or novels. I just write screenplays. Because I'm a child of that. I'm a child of the screen generation. I've watched way more movies and TV shows than I've read books. Take that for whatever you will. You could say I'm not much of an intellectual in that degree. I never claimed to be, really, but yeah, I've watched more movies and movies, way more, tenfold, than the books I've read in my life. So that's obviously, I would turn to that form of expression and write screenplays instead of writing a novel, which is completely bloated. Try to write a novel of 500, 600 pages. You think every page is going to be interesting? No, it's going to be boring as shit. And again, this is the opinion of an uneducated, unknown writer who's never been published in anything, never made a dime off of anything I've ever written. So why does my opinion matter? It doesn't. But I'm the everyman. I'm the everyman writer, damn it. And I guarantee you a movie like this would make a lot of money. It wouldn't cost too much. I don't think so, at least, but what the fuck do I know? I don't think this movie would really cost that much, besides the graphics, the CGI, and that type of a storytelling, because you need to do that. You can't really use people in costumes or anything. You need computer graphics, like a video game. And for some of the scenes, not everything, but like the scene when the doppelganger demon is in front of the sewer in the daytime, people would want to get a look at it by then. By the end of the movie, they want to see what this thing looks like. Just like in Alien, throughout the whole movie, you don't really get a look at the creature until later. But yeah, I think that's a trope too, as well. They did that in The Godfather when you first meet Marlon Brando's character in his office. It's all dark inside with the blinds pulled down like he's a vampire or some shit. And then maybe a couple minutes later, during the conversation he's having with whoever, "You've come here on the day of my daughter's wedding," whatever the fuck that was. Then you see his face maybe minutes later, almost like he is a monster. In a way, maybe that's what they wanted to. I think it's just more about the mystique and the intrigue of it. And yeah, Marlon Brando was still a famous actor at that point. Whatever, early 70s, whenever that came out. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here. But yeah, for fuck's sakes, I really need people to lead the charge on this one, especially because this could be a really classic horror film, whether it's done like this, like my script has it at 50 pages, it'll be like an hour long, or if you add some more stuff to make it more of a feature film, make it like another 10, 20 pages, or extend some of these scenes more than I wrote stuff. It could be a really classic movie, is the point that I'm babbling on about. More than the other ones. I like the other ones very much too. The Last Prisoner, Expanding Universe. Yeah, I like those characters. I love those stories. But this one's a little different. I think there's just a mass appeal. Some people will watch this just to watch the death scenes and the gruesomeness of it. Some people will watch it for more of the themes that I've been talking about. So it's a huge demographic, man. And just the image in this movie trailer. So you don't want to give the movie away because I don't like it when trailers do that. But I'm pretty sure the buzz, I'm already talking about buzz for my movie. There will be a buzz around this. So if you show the ice cream man in a trailer, people are going to automatically connect those dots. Like, all right, I guess this ice cream man is some kind of a demon or something. It's not going to be completely a mysterious thing, like, and that's fine. You know, I don't care about that so much as long as the movie's good. But yeah, I'll stop here. I think I've exhausted all the angles that I can hit. It's all about money. Everything's about money. But again, if a gun to my face and somebody said, you can only pick one of your stories to be turned into a movie, I'd still say Elegant Eccentrics, but this one would be maybe right there on, if Elegant Eccentrics actually did become successful and then I was able to produce another movie, I probably pick this one because this would be in the on deck circle right behind it, because I think it's cool for a writer to be able to explore different genres. Why do you want to pigeonhole yourself? I'm known only for horror, so that's the only exploration I can go down. I'm known only for science fiction. That's the only. Sometimes writers can probably be put in that box, no fault of their own, almost like an actor getting typecast. So I really don't want to be like that in terms of songwriting or screenwriting. I want to explore every genre. I want to be able to do that freely, whether it becomes a financial success or not. Because you can't think like that in the beginning. I'm thinking like that now because I don't have any money. I don't own anything in my life. And to be able to keep doing this, I need to start making money and shit. So that's where I'm at. I didn't write this because I was like, I want to make millions of dollars off of this. It's probably in my subconscious mind because it is a huge market if you can hit the right lottery number and make a movie that is so globally praised. That's what everyone hopes for. But I really think this one does hit that. It's such a unique take on the horror genre. And it's hard to... I'm praising my own writing, so that's kind of stupid, but that's just how I really feel about it. I feel like I can say this because I've watched enough movies where I can be like, this is so redundant, or this is so unoriginal, this is such a rehash of such and such movie. And I don't think I did that, even though I have a lot of influences that I spoke about to death already. So that's all. Someone please buy this fucking script, make it into a movie, and it will be a horror classic for the next generation to pass on. And that's a cool legacy to leave if you could make at least one good horror movie in your life. If John Carpenter only made Halloween and he didn't do Big Trouble in Little China and all the other ones, The Fog and Escape from New York and all those other classic movies, if he didn't do any other movies but Halloween, he'd still be a legend. If Spielberg only did Jaws and nothing else, he'd still be like a legendary director, storyteller. So that's pretty cool. I'm not greedy, man. So that's all. Someone please buy this script and make it into a movie so I can watch it on my phone screen and be like, yeah, they really captured the spirit of what I was going for. Good job.